The foremost impression that one gets about the character of the church is that, now we've seen the reference to the church, it is here in the last paragraph. The church was merely his instrument for obtaining money. That said, the instrument for obtaining money is the reason why the passage tells us, or the author tells us, that the pardoner is evil, not a dissembler. He's not deceptive, but he is evil because his sermons revolve around the biblical idea that the love of money is the root of all evil, but he admits clearly and blatantly that he preaches for nothing but the greed of gain. He condemns the very same vice that he lives by. Covetousness is both the substance of his sermons as well as the mechanism upon which he thrives. We see here there's a mention of his pardons. Rather, his foremost intention is to acquire as many shillings as he can in exchange for his meaningless pardons. So what the pardoner did, what impression we get about the pardoner is that he is greedy for money, for as much money as he can earn, as many shillings as he can in exchange for his meaningless pardons. But the church, that is his instrument. He uses that instrument to give out sermons and also meaningless pardons. All right, so this says that the pardons were meaningless because from the perspective of the passage, from the perspective of the author, or as the author is telling us, the readers, his sermons and his pardons are meaningless because he doesn't do what he preaches. He preaches against greed, but he himself is greedy. But that said, what does he actually do? And what does the church allow him to do? To give out sermons, as we see here, and to give out pardons, as we see here. So what do we know about the church from this? Let's look at the options for that. It was thriving on the helplessness of the people. There's no reference to this. There's no reference to people being helpless. All right, so people listen to the pardoner's sermons. They probably needed, or they probably went in for his pardons. They asked for it. They asked for his pardons, but does not necessarily or certainly define that they were helpless. Not so much. In all probability, they felt themselves to be greedy, and then when the pardoner preached about greed, especially the love of money being the root of all evil, then they went to confess to the pardoner in order for a pardon because they themselves were greedy. So in all of this, we cannot draw the judgment, the conclusion that the people felt helplessness or that they were helpless. So A is incorrect. Option B says, it had developed a sense of invincibility that bordered on supreme complacency. Again, the aspect of invincibility, complacency. See, we can see that these two words, invincibility and the sense of invincibility, if not that, supreme complacency is a negative connotation. It's a severely negative connotation. The negative connotation, according to the passage, can be applied on the pardoner, but it cannot necessarily be applied on the church. It is quite possible that this is true in reality, but the passage does not give us the information to support that. So this also is outside the premise. We cannot justify this. Option B is incorrect. Option C tells us, it had set itself up as a pathway towards holy absolution. Now, this is very much inferable because we've seen how the pardoner, as the name suggests, gives out pardons. What he needed was, what he was looking for was to acquire as much money, as many shillings in exchange for his pardons. So the church, as his instrument, allowed him to give out pardons, which means that the church had set itself up as a pathway towards holy absolution. Absolution, forgiveness, pardons, that is quite inferable. So option C is a valid choice. Option D says, it was not afraid to mock its own cherished ideals. Again, no reference to suggest this, not afraid to mock its own cherished ideals. There is no reference to mocking of the ideals. The church's ideals as such are not even mentioned. The church is only mentioned as an instrument for the pardoner to achieve his own ends, his own goals, which is to earn money, basically. So this also is outside the premise. No connection, no reference, no support, cannot be justified. D is incorrect. The correct answer is option C.